Welcome back to Blizzard Abroad. So today I want to talk about emotional intelligence. Today it's used as a buzzword or as an attack phrase against modern men. But the truth of the matter is that emotional intelligence, most of us already have it. We already practice it. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, the other day on my live stream, we were talking about, the things we pass down to our sons as men, trauma, pain, fear, emotional battles that we don't prepare them for. And the topic of emotional intelligence came up, you know. And I admit it. I said, I have no clue what emotional intelligence is. Many of us don't. When we hear it, we just check out, you know. But what it really is just an overcomplicated idea of the things that we practice in everyday life. You know, we have this tendency nowadays, to repackage and try to reinvent everyday commonplace ideas, logic. You know, there's nothing new in the world. You know, it's just repackaged ideas. You know, put out to social media to look for people to look intelligent. You know, so I wanted to talk about it today. Because we got to keep it real, man. Emotional intelligence, man. It's not. It's a new name for old game. You know, where I come from, we didn't need therapists or life coach. We didn't have them. We had uncles, we had grandmas, we had OGs, and they would tell us things like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know, don't let your mouth write a check your ass can't cash. You know, and today, a lot of men get labeled as cold, angry, hard. When really, we just never had the space to unpack the things that we carry around. That's emotional intelligence. And the truth is that we've had it. We just call it common sense, respect, or acting like you got some damn sense. Emotional intelligence is, you understand what you feel, you control what you do, and you stay solid no matter what. It's in the wisdom, man. Don't let nobody knock you off your square. Control your temper before it controls you. It's knowing when to say something, when to fall back. You're not weak for keeping your cool. You're smart for staying free. We've heard all of these things before. You know what I mean? Like, we've all walked away from a fight because we had more to lose. We realized that we don't need to win every fight, every argument. You know, you ever held your tongue, because you knew that one sentence could cost you your job, your family, your freedom. That's emotional intelligence. That's that, hard head makes a soft ass. You know, move in silence. Let them wonder how you do it. You know, that's real man energy, man. And a lot of us already live this way. We just never put a name on it. We don't feel a need to put a name on it. We've been taught this for generations. Now a lot of us don't have this game. A lot of us, some of us don't, put these things into action, you know. But without this, we self sabotage, man. And I've seen a lot of good brothers throw their lives away over pride, ego, over not being able to control their emotions, that, they didn't know how to process them. You know, Another one, pride comes before the fall. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. The world already is looking for reasons to take us out the game, man. So don't give them one. If you've heard any of these, if you practice any of these, you're already practicing emotional intelligence. It's just not packaged into these big words, these pretty phrases, that we like to invent nowadays, man. Just because you can don't mean you should. You know, read the room, feel the vibe, carry yourself like you understand that being real doesn't mean being reckless. You can't just go anywhere and act like it's your block. You know, that's emotional intelligence, guys. You know, and there are signs that you practice emotional intelligence. You know when to speak and when to stay quiet. You can admit when you're wrong and not feel like less of a man. You feel deeply, but you don't let those feelings drive you off a cliff. You treat folks with respect even when they don't give it back. And you don't let people pull you into their storm. You bring them into your peace, Or like grandma used to say, it don't cost nothing to be kind. You know, it's not soft, man. This is grown man game. This is stuff that they try to clown, before and then rebrand it and sell it back to us. You ever hear like every grown man ain't a man? You know, that's this, man. I've been the guy who reacted first and thought about it later, and I paid for it. But I also been the man who fell back, walked away, kept my peace, and that's when I really started to win. I'm not some highly successful man, but I'm free. I'm living life, man. I'm doing good. I've raised good kids, you know, because you can be right and still handle it the wrong way. You know, you can be wrong and handle it the right way. And if it costs you your peace, then it's too expensive. You know what I'm saying? Like this is me, man. This is the path that I'm on, man. I'm not trying to talk down on anybody or preach. I'm just here to remind everyday men that we have already been practicing emotional intelligence. Even if nowadays they want to use it as a hammer to bang us over the head. You know, we've had it already. We just call it something else, man. And now that you know what it really is, because it's not some enigma, it's not some magical thing, man. It's just regular everyday game. You know, now you can sharpen it, you can use it, and you can pass it on, man. So subscribe, drop a comment, man. Share this with somebody that needs to hear it, man. This is Blizzard Abroad, man. This is what we do here, man. Real recognize real. And, you know, please leave a comment in the comment section, man. Let me know some game that you've heard, that is really emotional intelligence, but it's just real man game. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Blizzard Abroad.